Hey, and welcome everybody to a special DBcember podcast. It's going to be a little bit weird though, because our fine Nick Lenny Batorlandis is sitting this one out. Why is he sitting this one out? Well, that's because he's not a huge manga reader, so he's not all caught up on the manga. Because today we're talking about the Dragon Ball Super manga. That's right. Everybody who was super mad that we were like, we're not going to talk about the manga. Ha! You played yourself. We're talking about it. We're talking about it today. And all you people who got angry that we didn't bring in Masako, guess what? You double played yourself. Because today, it's going to be me. It's going to be Mark. And it's going to be Moscow X. Moscow, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, thanks. Yeah, and all I can say is it's just about freaking time. No.
Look, it's not that you're wrong. It's just that you're right.
I'll take that.
And also, hey, Mark, how are you, buddy?
I am good, and I am very excited to dust off the cobwebs for what will no doubt be a resounding performance for myself in terms of memory for this manga. But I'm sure I will do okay, and you guys will hold my hand through it, so I'm very excited.
Don't worry. I'll hold your hand. Oh, well, that just got copyrighted by the Beatles. Oh, damn.
Oh, dear.
Beatles estate. Quick on that one. I will say two things. I am severely handicapped at the moment because, one, I have not read those original chapters in forever. In fact, I don't think I've read the original chapters of the Super manga since they came out, so I am a little bit fuzzy on them. And secondly, and this one might be more obvious off the top, I did not sleep last night, and if you think that it had to do with me editing DBcember, you'd be right. So I'm gonna be a little bit out of it. Apologies to all the folks at home for that.
I mean, trust me, I've worked with this chap for coming up nearly 15 years, and that is just something that is just par for the course now.
Oh my god, is it that long already? Jeez.
Well, ever since I discovered Lupin the Third Abridged and all that stuff, and going on the pre-work for DBZA, yeah, we're both editors. That sounds about right.
Oh my god, has it been 15 years? That's nuts.
2007, dude.
Oh my god.
God. That is pretty nutty.
It's going on 15. It'll be 15 next year. Oh boy. Anyway, but yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun because I've actually talked about the Mora arc about once before. I think it was a Taka's pod show. So we're gonna start from the very, very, very beginning. So hey, real quick, let's start off with a more general question. How do you guys feel about Toyotaro as the artist for this manga?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think my thoughts are quite short, so I may as well go first. Yeah. At the beginning, so when this whole manga started, I was very excited to jump into the story and all that kind of stuff, and I had just finished reading for the first time the Dragon Ball. I had bought it, I think, just as I was becoming a YouTuber, and it was good, but it wasn't as good as what came before it with Toriyama, and I didn't know why or how at the time. And over the course of reading the manga, it taught me so much about what maybe you might not. Okay, so I think I don't want to. I've been negative in the past on Toyotaro, and I think maybe unjustly, and I just probably think the best way to describe it is he's gotten significantly better over time. And that could have everything to do with being in proximity to one of the greatest manga artists of our time in Toriyama. But when he started out, I felt it felt sort of repetitive. It felt sort of in terms of paneling and all that kind of stuff. But as an artist, I think he was chosen for a reason by Toriyama, and Toriyama really liked his artwork. So I can't say that he was a bad artist at all. I just would say that it's very difficult to follow the greatest of all time, in my opinion. So yeah.
So that was your short take.
That
cool.
was my short take.
I'm not far off from how you feel. Early on, one of the things I actually really liked about Toyotaro, so when it comes to Toriyama's evolution of his art style, he became a lot thinner. His characters became a lot thinner as time went on. it's the reason that Kaba and Kale and Caulifla are kind of stick figures, even though they're Saiyans. But I will say, I feel like Toyotaro's kind of got a really good grasp on that part of Toriyama's current style, because you can see that he really likes to draw these skinnier characters, because he has this thing for just articulated muscle. It's why, actually, I personally think he draws Beerus incredibly well.
Yeah,
that's one character that you can tell that he's either having a lot of fun with, or he's just like, I don't know. There's something about the way he draws Beerus. He's got the angles right. He's got that skinny frame right. The ears are gigantic every time, and I sort of dig that. I'm all about big ear Beerus.
I think to add on to that as well, I think the covers that he does for the different manga volumes, they're always very dynamic and interesting.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh, that's. I think Viz has actually picked up on that by basically going like, "Hey, here's the new cover for the latest volume. Check it out."
Yeah,
100%.
I'm not gonna lie. Working on DBcember, I've actually been utilizing a lot of the old volume covers, the Tankobon, and I've been just salivating all over all these classic. I don't know how to put them, like vignettes. These images of the characters in circumstances they were never in the actual show. Just these beautiful images, like Goku on a motorcycle, or like Bulma with the gun. All these gorgeous images. And so for Toyotaro to continue that a bit, with everybody at the amusement park or getting or like at the burger joint, I'm in love with that shit, and it always looks amazing. Sometimes it's a little weird. There are a couple of weird ones that he's done, especially during the Tournament of Power.
Yeah,
but otherwise,
I think sometimes he struggles with like foreshortening and anatomy a little bit, but the muscles and all that kind of stuff, particularly his hands, he draws amazing hands.
His hands are crazy. Like, actually, I think it was like one of the latest ones where Goku's hands are just like, why is there so much? What fetish do you have for hands?
Yeah.
Well, all I gotta say is I gotta hand it to him.
Yeah, there's a rumbly in his tumbly that only hands can satisfy.
Oh my god, and that's an internet throwback.
yes. There, like half the audience is not gonna know what the fuck I just mentioned. Anyway,
I feel old now. Jeez.
But yeah, I really do appreciate how his art has developed, because I'd say that one of his biggest problems early on, and this is something that Toriyama pointed out, and I think he took it personally, was that he can be a little bit boring with his framing.
Yes.
His angles, like, and that's something I didn't quite pick up early on, but as it went on, I started to notice what people were saying, like, hey, nothing's particularly bad about this, but nothing's particularly good. And I kind of understand that.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Like, okay, so like I have to point this out, because I think I wanted to do this in a video once, just to kind of like highlight my point on what it is that I didn't like about Toyotaro compared to Toriyama. Because I always think it needs that caveat, is that compared to Toriyama, I don't like Toyotaro. But then again, compared to Toriyama, I don't like plenty of good mangaka. So let that be the preface now for what I'm about to say. But Toriyama, I think one of my favorite things about his manga, particularly in the, like around the Cell, not around the Cell, well, the Cell too, but I think the one that I'm thinking about now is in the Saiyan Saga, when he's facing against Nappa. This one panel, I think, just is like a great the fight between himself and Nappa, Goku and Nappa. There's like so many ridiculously interesting angles. I think the part that I'm currently thinking about is when he jumps onto his head and there's like this massive dramatic upshot. Like the choreography in and of itself is fun and playful, but the framing of it is so infectious and interesting, and that kind of like speaks to a lot of the philosophy throughout the entire original Dragon Ball run by Toriyama. But when you think about the Dragon Ball Super manga, it at least to me anyway, it feels like it has less of an identity. Like I can't really recall too many like big spreads or certain or like iconic panels from that manga that into and of themselves kind of are unique in that sort of respect. Whereas I can just think to any one individual fight from the original Dragon Ball, and there's some ridiculous pose or ridiculous like panel that really in and of itself is unique. I can't think of a better word to describe it, but it's just a really fun way of framing something. And I think to your point, like I think it's just Toyotaro I think struggles to maybe have the courage to kind of like do something a bit more outside of his wheelhouse.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Basically, I will say though, there are some more iconic shots now in the later chapters. Like there are some moments where you think, "Oh my god, that is bonkers." And we'll talk about more of that later on. But essentially, he is getting better, but I agree with you both. The fact is, like, Toyotaro, calm down. You can expand the characters outside of the square or the rectangle. Or, ooh, you're actually doing a triangular slant. Ooh, that's almost triangular, nice. But I feel like it's something to do with the old days of him coming back from his fan manga roots with AF. Is the fact that it's always just trying to emulate something that they didn't originate. And it does fall into some pitfalls of various other fan manga, I will admit, but it's not as much of a problem now as it was probably in the early 2000s, when things were relatively formulaic and the legends of Dragon Ball AF. I mean, I'm following one called Kakame right now, and if any of you audience out there are aware of Dragon Ball Kakame, these 3 French guys, oh my god. There's like, granted, it follows typically many Dragon Ball fan stuff of being really super edgy to the point of being obnoxious, but the detailing of it and the points, the field of view, it's insane. Like,
I saw somebody say that it's like somebody saw the art that oh wow, why am I spacing on the artist for the One Punch Man manga?
Oh, Yusuke Murata.
Yes, Yusuke Murata. It's like someone saw the art that he did of Goku and was like, oh, I want to make a Dragon Ball manga that feels like it was drawn by Yusuke Murata.
Yeah, but
Jeez, actually, he's done some fan art for Dragon Ball as well, hasn't he, Yusuke?
Yeah.
It's
good stuff. I mean, everything from Yusuke Murata is.
Yeah, but the point is that Dragon Ball fan manga has definitely evolved considerably, even though it does fall into some pitfalls. But yeah, Kakame is a good shout, but it's especially if you want to see exposed back muscle of Goku after an attack from Beerus. I mean, that's just like, why? And if you want to see super muscly Caulifla, you're in for a good time. But bringing this back to Toyotaro is that was from like a particular time of Dragon Ball AF being a relatively kind of simple with slower internet speeds, and you'd need to have something relatively straightforward. And he is learning, but I did go back and read some of the earlier chapters of the Super adaptation, and I feel it's, as you said, Mark, relatively safe. He's now pushing the boundaries now, because now we're getting into more original territory. There's a little bit more scope for Toyotaro to leave a stamp, as it were. Not too big of a stamp, though, because remember, he is not Toriyama, but a stamp. A relatively modest one, but it's there.
Yeah. I think it's just a very strange situation, because I'm into manga fairly deep, but like I can't really think of a single time where the original author and illustrator was replaced by somebody. And to that point and sort of philosophical approach, I'm like,
well, there's Boruto.
True. Yeah, I actually haven't read Boruto at all, so I mean, like, so maybe I'll get there. But I think maybe any criticism that I gave Toyotaro in the past might have been just, why aren't you more like Toriyama? And that's an unfair criticism, I think, because like he is his own person, and he's also being requested to try to mimic and emulate something that isn't him. There's one other
thing that I'd like to bring up that I kind of noticed early on, and I feel like he's trying his best to deal with this problem, and that's there are. If you compare the average amount of dialogue and panels in Toriyama's like original run, you'll find that not only is like he uses less dialogue and less action, or at least in terms of like actual events happening on a page, he allows them to breathe more. He gives them these bigger panels with clearer lines, less detail. He wants every shot to show everything that it's supposed to show with without it feeling too crowded. Actually, I'm about to fucking kick a hornet's nest, but this is actually a less of a controversial opinion now than it used to be. This is a problem Eiichiro Oda has been having for a while.
Oh,
I love Oda.
I know.
Yeah. But everyone has started to recognize that for one reason or another, it's hard to read his manga. It's packed with dialogue, with action, with like a million details and characters. And I also hate to say this, but Oda's always kind of had a problem with the flow of action from panel to panel. And so,
do you know what's funny about that though? Like, I totally agree, but I think, and I don't want to step on too many people's toes here, but you know what, fuck, I don't care. But like, I would, so my opinion, I've read a lot of manga, and my opinion is that Toriyama is incredibly adept at conveying action through panels and stuff, and I think is really good at that. That's like he's like a massive specialist at that particular thing. And when I went to One Piece, it was like, oh, this is a guy that's all about the story, and he really comes to grips with, like, you know, character development arcs and how they intertwine and like splice into each other, and that's really fascinating. But I don't know if the action is bad. I wouldn't say the action is bad. It's just I'm always going to compare it to Toriyama's, which is like a god in that particular department. And I don't know, is that fair? I think definitely Toriyama's is better, though. My opinion.
I would say it's different, certainly, because with Toriyama, from what I've seen, it feels to flow very well, like it's fluid, like it's a surging stream, as it were. Like things are going in a path, and it's very agile and fluid. But with Toyotaro, you feel like, again, going back to the fan manga connection, as in like, yeah, these are really cool moments, and there's some really good close quarter combat. But it feels like it's just like, you know, static, fight. Like it's very staccato. So you just feel like there's a moment where they're talking, standing off, fighting a bit more, then stop, fight, and then that kind of stuff. Whereas for Toriyama, it does tend to be a little smoother in how it moves from one thing to another. So I think that's what some people may have umbrage with concerning Toyotaro. It's just very sudden in how things transition.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think we've talked a lot about the art style of Toyotaro. He has evolved and gotten better as time has gone on. But let's talk about the first arc of the Super manga, which is the Battle of Gods recap. Which, man, I'm still like to this day sour that Super decided that it wanted to do a recap of Beerus.
Nothing kickstarts a new series like the word recap.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done what Demon Slayer did and use the movies and then make them into episodes, but apparently not.
Would have been cheaper too, and less likely to be mocked in terms of the animation and the stringent timelines and deadlines and whatnot. Sorry, what? But no, the point, you're right. It is very, very true. It's like, we can look back on this now and, you know, and just like point and just go, what a really big bunch of dullards. Really? It's just, but at the time, it would be just like, well, maybe people didn't watch the movies. Maybe I remember, you know, Kaiser, you and I, I remember talking about it. I think this was at this was at a convention. The day that Super came out, we were at a convention. And I think we was like talking about it, and it was like, well, okay, maybe this might be an opportunity to tell some more things that could happen in this arc. Like, we didn't get to see in Battle of Gods because it's a 2-hour movie. If you can like maybe have it out to 13 episodes, maybe you can add some more things to it. And we were like thinking, yeah, it might not be so bad. It didn't really add much to it. And as for the manga, it seemed very shallow.
Yeah, well, that's because the when we say recap, it is especially a recap for the manga, especially for the Battle of Gods arc. They flat out cut and shortened and truncated a bunch of stuff just to essentially, I think, give us a bunch of action of God Goku and Beerus fighting, which, by the way, that stuff was actually what got me into the manga when it was initially coming out.
Oh,
because
really?
the fight between Beerus and God Goku is actually really good in the manga, if I'm going to be frankly honest. There's a couple of fantastic shots. One I remember and I'll never forget is actually they're fighting in the air through the city, like weaving around things, and they're headed straight towards a building, and then, like, without even thinking about it or like just barely noticing, they break away, fly past the building, and then come back around the other side. Like, Beerus even comes around, like, cutting off Goku, and it's this great shot. Like, in terms of showing the action and, like, communicating what's happening, it's one of the best Toyotaro's ever done. And I really dug on it.
I think it's like it's been a very long time now since I've read through this particular portion of the manga, but one part that always kind of stood out to me now, it was how similar certain parts of it were to the movie specifically. And I think there's one panel that I'm like, anyone, if they want to, can look this up, but it's Goku's very first scuffle with Beerus on King Kai's world, and you know, at the very end of that fight, Beerus goes up behind him and just chops him in the neck, and then there's like this big shockwave of smoke as he just, you know, deflates back into base form and collapses onto the floor. Like, that exact shot is used in the manga, and I just wonder, like, both of you were talking about how this was sort of a recap and, like, you know, for the purposes of maybe filling in an audience that didn't otherwise know that this was where they were in the story. And I think there's definitely validity in that, but they skip the Frieza stuff for the most part. And I always thought that was a very strange choice if you've gone on and decided to recap Battle of Gods, you know. I don't know, In terms of the actual manga itself and that particular arc, I mean, it's perfectly fine and I really enjoyed it. But, like, I think just like the anime's version, I still prefer the movie in terms of its, you know, execution of the story.
Oh, I mean, I want to meet the person who thinks the Resurrection F anime, like the TV show version, is better than the movie. Because I can see arguments for things that the show did that were more interesting than the movie.
Yeah.
But I could not imagine someone who thinks that the TV show version is better. That I and again, this is not an objective opinion. There's no such thing as an objective opinion, especially on art.
No, Scott,
but,
this
like,
is objective.
I know, right? But it like GT is objectively bad. There, I said it. Are you happy, GT fans who are angry at us?
Jeez.
I'm kidding, by the way. There's like a GT is fine. If you like it, that's fine. Anyway, point being.
Yeah.
But the anyway, yeah, they completely skipped over the Resurrection F stuff, like, entirely. In fact, there's a really great just one page of them all sad, like, they skipped us.
Oh, yes,
yeah, it's
I
like,
remember
and we're
that.
here too. And now on to some new stuff. It was just so strange. It was, I don't know. Like, I think I'm definitely going to mention this a number of times throughout this conversation, but my biggest issue that still remains this day with the Super manga is that it only comes out once a month.
Oh.
I think, like, I routinely forget that it's actually coming out, and in the span of the month that goes by, like, for instance, I haven't read the most recent chapter of the Super manga, and it was this conversation that reminded me that it exists. Like, it's very annoying and it's very frustrating as well, because in terms of pacing as well, like, it just takes an age to get through a single arc of the story. Sometimes it can take 2 or 3 years to get through a single arc.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. I mean, to be fair, each chapter is about like 46 pages, but it does make me think, well, surely you could just make them 24 pages each and put them out every 2 weeks, right?
To your point, I 100% understand the utility behind, like, if you're producing 46 odd pages a month, that's perfectly fine, and it's realistically in keeping with the amount and volume that Toriyama created. But so let's take, for example, Shingeki no Kyojin, Attack on Titan. That was released, that one was released monthly, and it had the exact same page number, but the amount of story that was in the chapters justified it. This really, I always, not always, but like for the most part, when it comes to a super chapter, it always feels like an overly bloated chapter that would otherwise have fit in a single week. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I just don't feel like a lot of story is covered in these chapters a lot of the time.
Sometimes it is, but it really depends where you are in the overall story. Sometimes things can happen quite a bit, but then there can be chapters where barely anything happens. It varies.
Yeah, and there's nothing like waiting an entire month for a chapter where it does kind of feel like very little happens.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know. I feel like that was a lot of the Tournament of Power stuff, if I'm going to be honest. And some of the Moro stuff. Moro, I'm really glad actually that I went back through Moro, which we'll get to it, but I went back through Moro and binged the entire thing, and it is a much better binge than it is a week to week.
Yes.
Also, if you have the Super Dragon Ball Heroes OST on in the background, because I was like, well, I don't want to use the old Super music because it's already been used. So how about I use a bunch of this Super Heroes music since it's so fucking good?
It's one of the few good things about it.
And, amazingly, and it's got some really cool fights. It's actually got one of like Naoto Shishida's finest pieces of Dragon Ball animation. It's weird.
I know.
Yeah, it is weird.
And Dio's voice actor's in it, and in one episode he did say "muda muda." So and I'm like, it was like the John Trummy. He said it, boys. He said the thing.
I just really want to have a conversation with the marketing department that thought it was okay to have a movie that's called Dragon Ball Super Superhero and a TV show called Super Dragon Ball Heroes. It's so many supers and it's so confusing.
Well, at least it's not
the same.
It's not as confusing.
Okay.
It's not as confusing as the Legend of Legendary Heroes anime. There's something about the word hero that Japanese productions like.
Did you actually watch Legend of the Legendary Heroes?
I vaguely remembered it from when I reviewed it when it came out in 2010.
I actually watched a bunch of episodes of that. It was weird. Yeah. Anyway, I love, I won't lie, I unironically love Dragon Ball Superhero. I'm about it. I'm also about what was I gonna say? I don't know.
Will it be adapted to the manga superhero? Who knows? Or will it just get a splash page?
They'll probably, yes, that's probably what it will be. Much like we got for Broly. Man, I don't know what they're gonna do with Broly. I'm wondering if Broly's gonna get involved at some point. Like, that somebody in the marketing really, really wants to. Oh
yeah, no, 100%. I mean, Broly prints money. And to be honest, I'm kind of interested in seeing where that character that Toriyama did for him goes. It's like it is kind of interesting. I liked the idea that was teased of there being like kind of a power struggle between Goku's influence and Frieza's influence over the the personality of Broly himself. So I think everyone kind of likes Chile and Lemo. So I don't know. I am interested in seeing where they go, if they go anywhere. I hope they go somewhere. But I don't know. I haven't seen we haven't seen them. Apart from outside that one trailer in the superheroes thing, right?
No. Actually, I think yeah. Oh God, I completely forgot that Broly's in the movie. Oh my God, I completely forgot that Broly's in the movie. Yeah, well, I completely spaced on that because I've only oh hey, that trailer came out. That's cool. Call me back when we know some details about the plot, other than there's apparently a bunch of superhero characters.
Yeah. I don't know. I am personally ready to talk about the arc that I started reading the super manga because I was really excited to get onto some new material finally. Because I think when the Universe 6 arc was being illustrated and released, that was the very first taste we got of something truly unique to Dragon Ball Super, wasn't it?
What was that?
Universe 6 stuff.
Yeah. Wait, was the Universe 6? Did the Universe 6 stuff start coming out before the anime did?
Yeah, I think so. I think for like a chapter or two.
I feel like you're actually absolutely right.
Maybe now you have me doubting myself. Maybe it was the opposite way. No, it can't be because the manga didn't pass out the anime at any point until like much later, right?
Damn it! Hold on, let me double check because now I kind of can't help but feel like you're right. Because the Dragon Ball Super manga started coming out right when the anime did.
Yeah, it was round about the same time. Like maybe
it came out a little bit before. I think the manga started getting released a month beforehand.
Yeah.
And part of that had to do with the fact that it was like they were recovering the movies. And so let's see here.
Yeah, I think, if my memory serves me right, I think the anime passes out the manga around the time that Goku fights Frost.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're actually correct on that one because yes, you're absolutely right, and I remember this because I really liked the fight with Botamo in the manga, and then in the anime it wasn't quite as good.
That was awful. It wasn't quite as good.
I mean,
Botamo has never gotten a good fight in the entire series. He's always animated terribly.
I get behind that.
What? He's all rubbery. You'd think that they'd get an animator who'd have a lot of fun with that.
They just
I love the expression work of Botamo in the manga. It's really good. But yeah, I have to I remember you're right because I remember reading it and then being like, oh man, I can't wait to see this get animated, and then it sucked.
I don't know. I think it's like Botamo. I think what kills him for me more than anything else is that really awful effect that they the really weird CGI effect that they put on his stomach whenever someone hits him. I don't know. But,
yeah, that fucking Adobe Premiere ripple effect. Oh yeah, I remember.
I did really like the lineup we got of different antagonists that we had for that arc, with Botamo obviously, but we had Frost and Kaba and Hit obviously and Vegeta, or is it Magetta or Vegeta?
No, it's Magetta. Yeah. And
I will say I actually really don't like Frost because I thought it would have actually been very interesting if we had a good Frieza. And then they were like, no, he's actually also a douchebag.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well then I don't care.
Yeah.
You gave me an interesting idea and then reneged on it because you wanted to have a bait and switch, but your switch was worse than your bait. So
it felt like Frost was just, he's just a con artist. Oh, okay. At least Frieza's a tyrannical emperor. That's kind of cool in its magnificence. And
I will say this. I like the character of Frost because he's a guy who actually who plays as this war hero. I'm leading these armies in search for peace, but actually I'm the one who's causing the wars. And it's that's really neat and something you don't see a lot in, the kind of character you wouldn't see a lot in Dragon Ball. So I liked that, but it's also but why did you have to do it with this character? Why him? Because you wanted another evil Frieza? Although I will say, and I am absolutely being that guy right now, the moment I saw him, I was like, well, I really hope that's Greg Ayers.
Oh, yeah, it was gonna be. But the one thing that redeemed Frost for me was the bit in the Tournament of Power when he and Frieza just bulk up and in the anime it's drawn really awkwardly. They're like, oh yeah, I'm really big. Oh yeah, oh yes, I'm absolutely really big and hench and all that. You just see those two full power, and it's just so awkward.
Yeah, no, they're both just standing there swole as fuck, straight up cock diesel, oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be real though. In terms of the Tournament of Power, particularly in the anime, I think if Frost wasn't part of the Tournament of Power, at least early on, that would have been an absolutely agonizing first act to get through.
Oh.
I mean, because he actually, if you look back, he actually provides a lot of the a lot of the kind of like quote unquote tension in the first half of that of that arc. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of like the Universe 6 stuff, like Frost was fine. I was kind of interested. Like, I think my favorite part about that entire exchange isn't actually from the manga. It's just that one moment where Goku transforms into Super Saiyan and just catches his fist and just looked like a badass. That was like the only time in that entire exchange that I really liked. But I actually can't even really remember the manga version of that fight. I don't know.
Again, I think it just stems back from the fact that it just seemed that Toyotaro, I mean, I think this is one thing you can tell. Toriyama is all about, he rushes deadlines really, really, really quickly. He's famous for it, but you can tell he's enjoying it. Whereas you can tell that Toyotaro is not enjoying something that he's doing. He puts in enough effort to make it passable. I mean, clearly, otherwise Toriyama and the editors wouldn't accept it. But you can tell that, he's trying to rush through into the next bit that he feels like, oh, can we just get this bit over with so we can get to the bit that I really want to do? Like, it's very transparent with Toyotaro what he likes and doesn't like.
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe. So, like, I can only speak for myself, but, like, whenever I have to draw something, if I have to draw it and don't want to draw it, even if I know and really should want to dedicate myself to this and do, it's very hard to kind of, like, almost force yourself to draw something that you don't want to draw, because, like, drawing is, at least for me, sort of comes from joy, and if I'm really passionate and enjoying something, then it'll show on the page. So I would probably think it might be something like that, maybe, but who knows? I mean, like, Toyotaro has on numerous occasions shown that, like, he does have a massive excitement shown about himself whenever he says, "Oh, we're going to be catching up soon." I think there's a moment or an interview, maybe during the future Trunks arc, where he's like saying, "Oh, we'll be passing them out now soon," and like, this, that, and the next thing, and that doesn't happen until much later. And I'm sure that kind of like took him off guard too. So I don't know. I think playing catch up probably would do a lot in killing your motivation when it comes to drawing as well.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, so the Universe 6 tournament is all right in the manga. I actually, like, in terms of getting a mediocre arc done quickly, I sort of appreciate the fact that it truncates a lot of stuff.
I think it did I thought it did the Piccolo fight better. I actually think I really liked the Piccolo fight much more in the manga, if I remember correctly. I think Piccolo gets to do a lot more. Was that
Piccolo versus Frost?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, because that fight's terrible in the anime. I unfortunately, my opinion on that arc in general is that it is the worst example of a tournament arc in Dragon Ball, because it does very little to further any of the characters. There's very little of an overarching plot, and so when you have a bunch of really colorful and neat characters all going up against each other, that's neat. That's cool. Like, if you want to get a couple of neat looking fights in, but it doesn't tell a compelling story, because again, the biggest thing is like, oh, well, if Universe 6 wins, they get Earth. Well,
no,
we already
100%.
know they're not gonna fucking win.
I agree with that take. No, because like in terms of story as well, I think this one is sort of bereft of a lot of stuff. So like, I think the very fact that the manga was able to, now not just because they wanted to, but they were able to just skip over the Resurrection F material with no consequence to the story, that I think speaks volumes to like what Dragon Ball Super's narrative issue is. There's very little connective tissue between the arcs, whereas if you look in Dragon Ball Z, or like original Dragon Ball, if you go from the Saiyan saga directly into the Namek saga, which feeds into the future Trunks saga and all that kind of stuff. So like, yeah, like in terms of story and all that kind of stuff, it does feel like it's just a fresh start, and then it gets a really fast ending. And even in the ending, like one of the things that I loved about the anime's version of that section, and one of the few things that I did like about the anime section, was when Goku did it's really dumb, it's really stupid, but it's really flashy, and I liked it. It was the Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue kind of combination, and in the manga they just use Super Saiyan God, and it's just okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The combining Super Saiyan Blue with God was, or with Kaioken, was always really, really cool. Even if I'm not a fan of Blue, which I've not been a stranger about.
I feel like
What was I gonna say?
I feel like the symbolism behind Super Saiyan Blue, because I did a video on my channel, by the way. Just go to Master Quirks on YouTube, by the way. There is a thing about color theory, and it was about how blue is like quite a calming, very kind of guttural, kind of meant to calm the mind and chill down. And everything, I mean, if you know about Kaioken, if you use Super Saiyan Kaioken, unless you're Super Kaioken in the filler in the Otherworld saga, you're gonna have a bad time. But if you chill in Super Saiyan Blue, you're meant to be relaxed and in calm mind and all that stuff. Yeah, you could use Kaioken. It makes complete logical sense. But I like that bit.
I hate the fact that, and this has been a problem with Dragon Ball and especially Super. They will tell you this is what this does, but then like do very little to actually communicate it visually.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Which is the reason it was really fucking psyched when we got Ultra Instinct in the Tournament of Power, right? It was communicated visually in amazing ways, utterly amazing ways. Like, I was actually super impressed from the get-go on like, oh yeah, no, this definitely feels like it's different from any other form that he's used because of how you're making him move, the look in his eyes, the aura, everything about Goku communicates what Ultra Instinct is described to be about. It's actually why I don't like Mastered Ultra Instinct. I should be saying Ultra Instinct Sign, because Ultra Instinct all on its own is what we call Mastered Ultra Instinct.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually don't like the fully Mastered Ultra Instinct because I feel like it actually takes away from that feeling. But we're so far off. We have lost the plot. Allow me to find it and bring it back here. Yeah, Universe 6 arc in the manga. It's fine. You know, it's a fine, honestly, better version than the anime was, with the exception of, you're right, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken A+. Also, Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan was a terrible, terrible mistake. I feel like they were like, oh, well, we'll come up with Super Saiyan God, and then someone was like, wait, but what if you go Super Saiyan with that? And then the entire room collectively groaned.
And now, unfortunately, we found out via various means, because it's so ingratiated amongst the fandom and in the games, there is nothing you can do to get rid of it. Yeah, you can call it Super Saiyan Blue, but it has to be SSGSS now. Stuck.
Yeah, and part of that has to do with the branding. They literally bought... They got the copyright for Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. They can't change that now. Like, that's what it's called. That's the branding. And Jesus. So yeah, it'll never be anything but.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so now Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. Which, I was gonna say, in the manga, they have a fantastic joke about it that didn't make it into the anime, and I was furious about that. It's when they're both like, my Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan is stronger than your Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, and they keep saying it over and over, and then finally Goku bites his tongue.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I saw that.
And then Whis comes in like, okay, this is ridiculous. We need a better fucking name.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, way to go. I like it when Dragon Ball is more self-aware about itself. That's always fun. Yeah, that was good shit. I will say, there's one thing about like the Super manga, in terms of so actually let's go into the next arc, because I feel like I have a lot more to say about Black, unless you guys have anything more you wanted to say about Universe 6.
No, I think
Definitely
we're
not.
ready to go for this.
By the way, I apologize if I'm dominating the conversation.
No. I think we're all having our good moments, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think that, though, the Goku Black saga is when you, in the manga, is where Toyotaro really gets to stretch his legs a bit. Like, he's almost going, finally! Now we can do some proper good stuff.
Yeah, there's a bunch of crazy things that he does, and I like a lot of them, if I'm gonna be honest. But yeah, the Goku Black arc, it starts relatively similar to how the anime does. There's some key differences in the visuals and the way that things play out. I do like the opening better in the anime. It's just got a lot of really great shots, great music. Bulma's death in the anime is just holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, the idea of, I'm sorry, the way she dies is, this is such the wrong term for it, but fucking metal. Black just holds her in place as the explosion happens around him. Like, oh, this is gonna do nothing to me, but you literally evaporated. Holy fuck.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's also kind of weird thinking that, like, Bulma's oldest friend, like, she's looking into the eyes of like her oldest friend doing that to her. It's crazy. It's just so weird and messed up, and I loved it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's dark, and honestly, I like it when my Dragon Ball gets dark. Like, I miss when Dragon Ball felt like it could go those places, because I feel like a lot of the new stuff, it gets up close to it, it'll poke at it a little bit, you know, Frieza will kill a bunch of minions, but then it backs off. Like, when Goku Black opened, the Future Trunks arc opened with something so dark and devastating, I was like, oh, are we returning to form in this bitch?
Yeah. And I think like, to draw attention to something that, like, the manga does specifically with this, I mean, like, in the other arcs we pointed out instances where when it deviated, it sort of deviated for, like, you know, to make it more boring in comparison. Whereas I think, like, this particular arc itself, like, it deviated in ways that I thought were really interesting. I mean, like, even like on a visual level, giving Black the ability just to go Super Saiyan alone kind of, like, adds a bit of variety of color and really kind of draws attention to the fact when he does eventually attain Super Saiyan Rose, or whatever people call it. But like, and like yeah, I'm like, I mean, personally, one of my biggest gripes of, like, the Future Trunks arc was that they kept flip-flopping between realities or timelines or whatever, and I found that really annoying, especially when going back for the final third time. I think the manga does that a bit better in that they only go twice, and that's all you really should need. The idea of going there, getting fucked up, being kicked out, and then going back again, and, you know, getting to, like, right their wrong, so to speak.
If I can actually, like, talk about that, the biggest fundamental changes that they made that I really, really liked. One, wait, does Goku forget the senzu in the manga?
The sensu?
Yeah.
I don't think that there's even a sensu bit. Is there a sensu?
Do they have the senzu at all
I'm gonna look
in
it
the
up.
manga? Because I do know that in the anime, and this is ridiculous, and one of the worst parts about, like, just the writing for Goku and Super, forgetting the senzu on the toilet was not funny.
No,
it wasn't funny. It wasn't quirky. It was just really stupid. And it's like, hey, what the fuck? Why would you, like, it feels almost like character assassination on the behalf of the people writing for, like, the show. And what it's made worse when he also forgets the talisman.
Yeah, he doesn't forget the talisman in this, like, I think, oh no, he does, he forgets the talisman in the manga as well.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, sorry, no, he doesn't. Friggin' Roshi gives him the wrong thing. He gives him a coupon.
For a maid cafe, or no, an escort club.
It literally says, club tight and scanty, 50% off.
Yep. And I loved that. And for somebody who was like, I can't believe they made Goku forget this fundamental part of the plan, for it to have been a mistake on Muten Roshi's part, for Kame-Sennin to give him the wrong goddamn thing. You see, I loved that. I was like, okay, see, that's how you do it.
No, 1,000, 1,000,000%, absolutely. So, like, this, to me at least, kind of reads as like, okay, the bullet point that Toriyama provided, both the anime and the manga, was that the talisman isn't where it needs to be, and therefore they can't use the Mafuba technique. The way the anime decided to fix that was just to have a very lazy solution that, oh, Goku forgot it. That is like character suicide for him. But the manga decided to, you know, lean into Roshi's character and Goku's character and kind of like embellish the situation and make it work based on those innate traits, which is a much better and much more elegant solution to the exact same problem.
Yeah.
Yep. It's tied to a character. It doesn't like detract from Goku's character. Oh my god.
No, it's so much better. And like this particular arc is filled with all these different moments that are just, I think, so much better, or at least more interesting. And like these are moments that could have existed in the anime, but they're just not there. And I think they're just terrific additions, either by Toriyama himself or by Toyotaro. I don't know whose idea it was to have this conversation that Trunks has with Vegeta, where he says, like, you know, he starts talking to Vegeta specifically about like, my mother loved you and she was so lonely without you, and she had dedicated her life to try to reconnect with you, and at the last moment Black stopped her, and you know, I never want your Bulma to feel the same way my mother did, and so I want to do everything in my power to make sure that this doesn't happen to her. And like, that's such a really raw and very believable thing for his character to say, and it's just such a powerful moment, and it's one that I will always remember this arc for, and one that I honestly think would have benefited the anime tremendously, at least for Trunks, because for a lot of that arc, especially in the anime, Trunks feels like he is kind of secondary for a lot of it.
Yeah, absolutely. There are moments that in the manga it gets really deep and very introspective, and you feel like, yeah, that's cool and all, and I like it, but it's not very Toriyama. But you feel like, but it's good in a way, ultimately.
How about the fact that he became a Kaioshin attendant, like a Kaioshin in training?
That's so cool. That's such a cool idea.
Yeah, not only was it a cool idea, but the way it played out was amazing. The fact that they don't tell you, and they barely even hint at it, when he heals people. Like, you think, oh, that character didn't die, I guess it was a fake out. No, it wasn't a fake out. It was, well, I mean, it technically was, but it wasn't just, oh, you thought they died and they didn't. He's been healing them because he has healing powers, because he was a Kaioshin attendant, or a Kaioshin in training, and that's why.
Yep.
Like, and I was like fucking floored. I was like, holy shit. Not only did you have this whole thing planned out, you also like gave Trunks something to do, a way to contribute. Like, holy fuck.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I mean, like, there are so many things that this arc does, like, on the back of, like, what the anime did. And it's hard to say, right? Would this arc be the same if it was leading the way instead of, you know, sort of, like, looking up and maybe picking up the mistakes or fixing the mistakes the anime did? It's hard to say. And I think it's always easier to kind of, like, do the second draft of a story. But I think this arc itself does enough new to kind of, like, almost give itself its own credit, because, like, realistically, there's a lot to this arc that if you haven't read the Super manga and are familiar with the Future Trunks arc itself in Super, it's well worth the read, because the experience is night and day in a lot of respects. While it does follow, by and large, the same signposts throughout, how they get to each signpost, I think anyway, is much more satisfying. There's a lot less fat, and the climax, I don't know about you guys, but I really like the climax in this one. Within reason.
Okay, so if we're talking about what was the okay, I'm actually having a little bit of trouble because it's been so long. I actually can't remember what the climax proper was. I remember, like, it gets crazy, like I think way crazier. Like the old, like Goasu is actually there. He used the Kachin as a weapon. Which is something actually that the Kaioshin in Kakarot has. That was really cool. I think in terms of like in terms of like the end of these stories, I hated the ending of like the Future Trunks arc. But everyone does.
But like in terms of like the climactic battle at the end, I actually much prefer the manga's version, just because where in the anime there was like a giant hulking mass 1-on-1 against Vegito, in this particular one, it sort of feels different. In fact, it almost feels reminiscent at a particular point of what's that Cooler movie when it's the Revenge of Cooler or Return of Cooler?
Oh yeah, the Return of Cooler.
Yeah, where like there's a massive army of Zamos that like Goku and Vegeta that when they're completely drained and have no options have to try to overcome. Like that one shot is really cool, and it's one of the few shots from Dragon Ball Super's manga that have actually stayed with me. And I really like that way that it contributes to the ending in its own sort of, it sort of has its own voice, you know, like, and like, again, to your point, like, you know, when it was the kachin is the word, is it?
Yes.
I think it's just kachin, and kachin is the, kachin is like the version that they used for the arena.
Yeah, and like so like how like Zamos has like really interesting powers, like where he can use that material, or he can like, you know, throw his arm into a portal and attack someone somewhere else. Like, and he, like there's some really creative implementation of that particular technique in the manga too. I don't know. It's
I mean, look, if he's going to blatantly steal from Return of Cooler, he might as well also blatantly steal from Janemba.
Yeah, Fusion Reborn, just take it away. Just take it all. And look, hey, I'm not gonna complain. Like I honestly had much more of a fun time with the manga of this section than the anime, and the anime's portion of this of this like climactic battle isn't bad either. I just slightly prefer the manga's version.
And can we just briefly talk about the fact that Goku knows how to use Hakai?
Thank you. I was about to bring that up. Yeah.
Well, kinda, but you just suddenly see him going Hakai, and you feel like, how did you? Oh, you learnt the Kamehameha by looking at it. Oh, okay. I mean, it's not successful, but it's there, and you feel like, what?
But it's nice to see that element of Goku is preserved, and he's kind of like, you know, that element of his personality is still on display in manga. You know, they're like, a lot of people, and myself included, have like, you know, picked and prodded at the Super anime and the manga for like, you know, making Goku feel a little bit too stupid or a little bit too silly when he should be serious. But like, I'll give credit where credit's due. There are certain instances where that feels true to the character, and like, as you said, I do think that his implementation of the Hakai, or at least his attempt to do so, is very Goku.
Absolutely.
That bit where he's like, hey, gonna have to steal this technique. I was like, what the fuck is it? Oh my god.
Exactly.
That was sick.
Yeah, it's sick.
I will say, now that I was actually rereading through it, I remember why I don't like the last part of this. The whole like Zamos clone thing, I was never a huge fan of personally. Mostly just because, again, one, it kind of feels a little bit too much like Cooler, but also it's what leads to Zeno being called, and that just fucking kills it for me.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think like, everyone hates that. And look, I will say, and this might be weird, but like, I didn't grow up with the movies, and I actually watched the movies after I watched this, or after I read this manga. And so when I was reading this, I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. And then when I saw it in Cooler, I was like, oh, that's the thing from the thing. I was like, okay.
That's a cool idea. Then you see the movie, oh, that's a cooler idea. Okay.
Jokes.
But yeah, it's not bad. I honestly was just sitting here like, okay, how are they gonna win this one then?
Yeah.
Oh,
they don't.
How. Yeah, no, they lose. Everyone loses. Yeah. Everyone loses, especially the reader.
I mean,
especially the reader. I just can't imagine the existential nightmare that would be Trunks' life living alongside him, his alternate self.
I know. That's the main thing about Super that pisses me off. I mean, I even made a what if about this, about what if Trunks and Mai, you know what? Trunks just, you know what? I'm just gonna like stay here in the past. Yeah.
You know, you keep talking about sending me to a new timeline, but I might as well just stay here.
Yeah, exactly. And then eventually I just go like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna like bring in like Meki Cabra and Super Dragon Ball heroes and all that stuff.
The thing is, like, it actually would make more sense for him to stay in that current timeline because he's old enough to be like a distinct character.
Yeah, and he can make present Trunks less of a entitled prick.
And maybe he could have showed up instead of Ten Shinhan at the Tournament of Power, so they didn't have to ruin his character.
Oh my god, yeah, exactly. And yeah, Ten Shinhan could actually spend some time actually getting to rebond with Yurin. Like, can you
fucking believe the gall that they had to bring Ten Shinhan back in, give him his own school, and then 1, make him a terrible teacher, 2, get his ass kicked by Muten Roshi, 3, have him be a ragdoll for Gohan, Piccolo, and Goku as they're fighting, and then 4, have him have the worst fight in the entire tournament. I am fucking done.
He had to throw himself out, split himself into 4 just to get one of the worst people in the tournament eliminated.
And then not
So
and then
bad.
and then not even getting remotely interested in a potential love interest. You feel like,
Yeah.
oh god.
You could fucking had lunch come back.
Yeah.
I mean, what was Toriyama doing with her? Nothing. Just have lunch come back. No, it's gotta be this chick. All right, what the fuck ever. God damn it.
The people like
Sorry,
me-
I'm a huge Tenshinhan
I-
fan because
I
I
know.
have a particular love for a character like him who never stopped training, who never stopped working,
Yeah.
who always put the time in. He was one of the only humans that was giving it his 100%, and he got fucked, and that's why I'm mad.
Nah, oh, hey,
Yeah, I
at
mean,
least
like,
the people
freaking,
are-
you can.
yeah.
There's a case to be made that Yamcha himself got more in Super than Tenshinhan did. I mean, Yamcha got the baseball episode, and that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It was that good. It was referred to as the something episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody likes the baseball episode.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes the Tenshinhan stuff in Super. Nobody. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yamcha got more than Tenshinhan.
I will say the character of Yurin is interesting. I will admit that. And I do like the fact that it did lead to Roshi eventually cleaning up his act temporarily. But I do love the... seriously. They did nothing with that. But I mean, yeah, and Roshi now, as we're heading towards the Moro Saga, you eventually realize, oh yeah, no, okay, no, that's temporary. It was transitory. Oh.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I'm ready to talk about the universe survival arc now. Unless you guys got some more stuff you want to talk about the future Trunks stuff.
No.
Hold on. Is there anything else I don't want? The fucking sequence with the Mario Kart parody.
Oh,
A
yeah.
plus, S tier, fucking triple S.
Yes,
that should have been in the anime, and the fact that we never got that. Truly the greatest failure of all of Super.
Oh, it's okay.
10 out of 10.
If you ever go to Tokyo, we can always just emulate it there, because that's how you can be a tour guide. You can take a cart. That's totally not Mario Kart.
Actually, they had to get rid of those.
No, they're still going, but they just have a little disclaimer saying this is totally not what you think it is. They're still around, but they changed the name.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, is there anything else you want to say, Moscow?
Nope, I'm pretty much with you guys. Let's keep rolling.
All right, Universal Survival Arc. I actually really like the exhibition tournament a little bit better in the manga, if I'm gonna be honest.
Oh yeah.
What are the key differences in that? Because in my mind, they feel the same, but I must be wrong.
If I remember correctly, Goku loses.
That would make more sense. That'd be a bit of a surprise. You know, the
I-
guy who
like,
pretty
yeah,
much
there was, like,
encouraged it.
The beginning to this arc is different as well. Isn't there like a big free for all between all the gods of destruction?
Oh, well, the beginning of this arc has the exhibition tournament. Which is the Toppo fights Goku.
Yeah.
Which and again, he wins. Which it was actually it's got one of the sickest shots of the arc. Just this amazing kick from Toppo. That also highlights his bountiful bosom.
Oh yes, I see it now. I'm looking at it. It is magnificent.
But yeah, it's like that fight is sick. The way he wins is cool. I really dug on that. Oh god, you're right though. I'm totally out of it. You're right. There is a free for all with all the gods. I'm sorry. Holy shit. Oh yeah. By the way, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
The fact that we didn't get that in the anime too. Like, fucking holy shit, it's so cool.
And it seems like a no-brainer as well, particularly when you're introducing so many new gods of destruction with no real natural vehicle to introduce their characters. This seems like a perfect way to do it, but the manga did it, so.
Also, I was gonna say, the tournament, like the Universal Survival arc in the manga, paints Beerus as like the guy to beat, and I'm sorry, that's cool. Like, I heard some people like, oh, why does he gotta be the special one just because he's in Universe 7? No, fuck you, that's awesome. Like, look, I think it's actually really cool that they've got the, like, what is considered the strongest of the gods. Like, maybe it's because I like Beerus too, and I want Beerus to be cool, because, you know, the Super anime continues to just kind of misuse him. So I would rather, like, kind of restore a little bit of his menace and, like, stature.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of Super is spent treating him like the exasperated guy who's always just trying to deal with whatever crazy thing that's going on, where in Battle of Gods he was so awesome because he was above everything. He didn't have to worry about that. He didn't have to get freaked out or angry, or like he was fickle and what's the term? Like he could get angry on the drop of a dime over stupid things, but they always seemed perfectly in character. Like there was a rhyme and reason to it.
Yeah.
So, but like the fact that I don't know, the more I am still in the same camp that they should never have brought Beerus back after Battle of Gods until they had a good reason.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think kind of like expanding on that, like in terms of characterization for different characters, I think the manga did a really good job of well, not a really good job, but a better job of giving Jiren some sort of characterization when we first see him. Because like, okay, so like the famous Jiren reveal shot in the manga is where he has this massively gorgeous, luscious ass just right there in your face.
I absolutely.
Oh yeah, no, fucking Jiren's got a big dumpy. God damn.
But like the thing is that like in his very first like, you know, like reveal to us, like he says, I took care of the onslaught of these aliens, and like so I came here. First we need to free the people of this city, and he's saying that like I came here, and my basically saying that his priority is to protect the peace in the universe, and like that kind of like paints a much more clear image of what he is versus the anime, which doesn't have him say anything or much of anything at all. So like it's I don't know, that always struck me as a really strange inclusion or lack of inclusion in the anime, where I felt like they didn't even know what his character was and were stalling. But
a weird lack of what's the term? Any character whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think Jiren sucks. Not just because he is a stoic character, stoic is fine, but because they tried to give him a backstory and it was the worst, and it just made everything else worse because of it. Like, I would have almost been okay if they'd given him less character in the anime, because at least then it could have been just all about Goku. But the fact that they tried just the slightest bit with Jiren made it worse, because it's like, no, don't try. Now you've just made him a bad character instead of just a force for Goku to overcome.
It's like you spend all this time making a pie and then you just spill it, and like the ingredients are everywhere, and trying to salvage it, you're like scraping it off the floor, making more of a mess, trying to make it better.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like. But to be honest, right? Okay, so this is the part that kind of like blew my mind a bit when I went back to read this particular arc in the manga, was that had I done that and had I been looking at it and watching it, I would have been able to predict the ending of the Tournament of Power purely by virtue of looking for where Toriyama's notes were. So you'll notice that everyone's introduction and interaction is different when they're recruiting the different people, except for one person, really. And it's well, like Frieza's there, but he's also part of the ending. So Frieza's is the same, but so is largely Android 17. And so if I was to go back and look at this and actually pay attention to it instead of being the idiot that I was like, oh, so everyone's is different except for Frieza and 17. And because Goku's Goku, he's going to be at the end. So, okay, those are going to be the three main players in the end that make up the ending of the story. Because like in the manga, the campfire scene at nighttime is like specifically there, similar to the anime for Android 17. And like I find it difficult to believe that they both came up with the exact same idea. And so I think it was probably one of those moments where Toriyama like said, they recruit X, Y, and Z character, and then he goes into detail for characters like 17 and Frieza. And both of those recruitments are like by far my favorite part of this particular story.
I just still find it extremely annoying that with 17's family, you don't see a picture of them. That's why it's in my headcanon that, oh, he's just making it up. He just made it up entirely. Or and Goku's not gonna know. He's just gonna look at this picture, Goku. Ah, cool. And he just takes it at face value. I mean, that's the thing that I find extremely annoying. And I don't know whether it's deliberate now or not, that they're just going like, yeah, no, you're not going to see them because he's extremely private. Yeah,
I know. I don't know. But like I think when it comes to like the recruitment stuff in the early parts of this arc, like, there wasn't a huge amount of stuff that I loved, but like, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I did like is sort of carried over from like the anime. I really like the recruitment of Frieza. I really like oh wait, is Frieza's recruitment even shown in the manga?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, oh boy. I feel like that's one I should remember. Frieza's
because I loved it in the anime.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I will admit that when that first news came out that Frieza was coming back, people hated that so much, but I will admit they pulled it off. They managed to make it work.
I found it. So yeah, that conversation that takes place in the anime isn't in the manga. It's like Goku shows up, says, "Hey Frieza, what's up?" and then they hard cut then to Frieza showing up.
Oh yeah. No, way better than the anime. Remarkably better than the anime.
I love that scene.
The scene at Uranai Baba's place is
it's
actually one of my
kiss.
favorites in Super.
It's Chef's Kiss. It's so good.
Like if I had to pick my top 5 moments in Super, it would probably make it would probably make the top 5. Easy.
It's like I do like the kind of like really small but subtle indication of like, Goku going through the motions of like the fight he had with like the last time he was there. Like I think that's really,
I mean, that's phenomenal on its own right, but I really just mean the stuff with Frieza. Like
Frieza going like ham on the minions and stuff.
I really hated his characterization in Resurrection F because it had some of that same old condescending sadism that he's always had, but he's so petulant in Resurrection F.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I get that he is a petulant character, but that's him at his worst, and if he's that all of the time, it sucks. Like, if you're gonna bring back Frieza, give him a moment to be fucking Frieza. Which we got a little bit of that more in the TV version because he gets to torture Gohan, which I know it seems like really fucked up for me to be like, oh man, I'm so glad he tortured Gohan, but yeah, actually I do want to see that character like being that character, and that requires him being a monster.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, in Resurrection F, like, at least to me, it felt like it was sort of a means to an end. It was just like, oh, we need someone to be a big bad. Oh, Frieza's popular, we'll do that. But I'm just like, and when they did announce that Frieza was going to be in the Tournament of Power instead of Boo, I think it was, I was like, oh, Boo, that would have been interesting to see Boo. I'm like, oh, Frieza, okay, so, like, this is an interesting idea. And thank God they did it, because he ended up being, like, at least for me, like, with one of the most interesting aspects of the tournament. Without him, it would have been so much worse and so much more difficult to get through.
I will say this: we don't know how it would have been written without him.
True.
It's always easy to say, like, well, if Frieza hadn't have been there and everything else had been the same, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's not how stories are written.
Very true.
But that being said, I really love the story they wrote with him. So yes, I am also glad that he was there.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of nice to see that, like, the last thing that he did wasn't Resurrection F, you know?
Oh God, right? Oh, this felt like an apology. Like a very long, very thorough apology. Hell, his introduction scene is like, hey, yeah, we know we fucked up. Here's the Frieza you actually like. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Yes, I'll take 12.
Yeah.
I'll take 12, yeah. There's a little kind of allegiance. Like, to be honest, I'm going to be completely upfront here. Apart from, like, the preamble that goes on, like, you know, during the universe survival arc leading up to the Tournament of Power, once the Tournament of Power happens in the manga, it's a blur to me.
Yeah.
Because...
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this when Toyotaro is like, I don't want to do this. I just want to get this out of the way.
Isn't there, like, a moment... I think I remember moaning on Twitter about this, but I think I remember reading a chapter where I think, like... Is it Kale? Yeah, Kale. I think Kale rages and just knocks out 5 universes in one chapter.
Yeah, Kale. Because even in the anime, it was like, oh, okay, knocks out 5, goes berserk. Cool. In this one, she's the MVP, because in the anime, Vegeta's the MVP. But, like, Kale apparently is now. And who could forget Ultra Instinct Roshi? You know? How he was able to dodge Jiren through experience. Like, what?
Yeah, 100%.
I will say, There's actually a part of me that likes how fast it goes by.
I appreciate it now, but you can tell that Toyotaro didn't want to do it.
I've never actually gone back to read it. Is the pacing in the manga like is it because like I remember watching the or reading this week to week, month to month. I remember reading this month to month, and each month feeling kind of like this kind of descending feeling of bewilderment fall over me. So like I wasn't sure what was happening, but I wonder, is it a different experience when you just binge the entire thing?
So
I would assume that it would be, because then it's kind of like you're watching a movie version of it, actually. Yeah. That's the way that I look at the Toyotaro retellings of the stuff that we got in the actual Super anime. These feel like the movie versions, just kind of laid out in front of you. Like, hell, Android 17 knocks out a dude on the 3rd page after the tournament starts. Like, out immediately.
Yeah.
And then another dude on the 5th page. And then another dude, 2 more dudes get knocked out by 18 on page 8. It's just bam, bam, bam. Everyone's, hell, the fucking, oh god, what's it called? The ones that, not Shimotion, Yardrat. The Yardratian gets knocked out by 18 within the chapter it starts. He doesn't get to do
Kato
shit.
Pestra from Universe 3, the Mortal Chenji, in the anime, he's really good. He's really cool. He's one of my favorite Universe 3 people. And he gets knocked out instantly. Like, I was so angry. I was like,
I would have liked that character a little bit more if they hadn't used him for the same joke a million times.
To be honest, whenever I just look at this thing, the only thing that I can think about is like, good God Almighty, it must have been an absolute unmitigated headache designing all of these characters, knowing full well that they will live and die on a single page.
Exactly. I felt like all the other World Tournament people, like Tapcar and all that type of stuff.
So like, how does this one end? Like, I don't remember how this like arc ends in the manga. Because I think it is different, isn't it? A little bit different.
I do not think that it ends the same way. By the way, for all of you Super Manga fans in the audience right now being like, you idiots, you don't remember how any of this went? I thought you were fans. Yeah, we know. Okay, yeah. We know. We're sorry.
There's a lot of story. There's a lot of story. And I'm like, to be honest, part of it for me anyway is also the fact that like I am just so in love with what the anime did to end this arc. Yeah. I think it's just such a great ending. Like, I really like the dynamic at play between Goku and Frieza that's like explored, particularly in the last episode. It's just good. And so I think I could probably read this like 3 or 4 times, and like in a year's time I'd be like, oh yeah, remember how the anime went? Oh wait, how did the manga go again? That's kind of probably how it probably go.
But trust us, with the next saga that we're talking about, we remember much more of it because it is quite memorable in of itself. So I think we should steer ourselves towards the big goat. Well, Ram Man, technically.
Oh, by the way, before we do move forward, it ends with Goku and Vegeta having a big old attack against Jiren, and then I think Vegeta gets taken out. Frieza does his big old death ball while Goku holds him, and then I remember now. Yeah, fucking Golden Frieza does like a dive bomb and then knocks them both off.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's not nearly as cool. If I'm gonna be honest with you, manga ending for the Tournament of Power, not nearly as good. Not anywhere close to as good.
Much more mediocre, even when.
Also, it has my favorite panel where Goku looks like a giant. I'm sharing it right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That is actually properly like he's properly scaled there, but unfortunately with the way that they had to like kind of erase his leg, it looks like it's like in the it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It just kills the foreshortening. It just makes Goku look enormous, or Android 17 look tiny.
Yeah. Really does.
It's like the bigger Luke theory.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all right, let's talk, as you said, about the goat arc.
Yes, exactly. Moro.
Greatest of all time.
Moro. I will say.
I'm gonna say right. I'm gonna say right off the bat, my favorite part about this arc is, and I don't think I'm not sure if a lot of people would agree with me on this or not, but I have really not liked what they've done with Vegeta throughout all of Super for the most part, and it's particularly during the Tournament of Power where like they had him like sort of like do his greatest hits with like, you know, the big sacrifice and all that kind of stuff and like the final flash.
Right.
Like when it came to the Moro arc, it felt really nice seeing him make choices that were inspired based on the history that hasn't been explored yet, like his regret of what he did with the Namekians and him feeling indebted to their people, or like that like he has a debt that needs to be paid that he needs to make up for his past actions and sins, and like that's a really believable and honest motivation. And then you have like obviously then building upon that, like one of the things that has made Goku like really like the trendsetter and ahead of Vegeta in a lot of respects is his ability and willingness to learn from other people, like masters like Roshi, King Kai, you know, like, and take what they can offer him and acknowledge that they can offer him something and learn from it. And Vegeta goes off to train on himself and, you know, learns something and comes back all the better for it. But like, I think that's my favorite aspect of this arc, just from a broad stroke standpoint, is that it does feel like maybe for the first time Vegeta's sort of grown in a little, like grown in a new direction based on a history that he's had.
No, agreed. No, Vegeta in this saga is fantastic. Just the way he conducts himself is extremely commendable, and it feels like he is slowly maturing into the sort of person that we see at the end of Z.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how I thought about it at the very beginning, because there was this part of me that was wondering if like, oh, are you trying to do a character arc with Vegeta now? And honestly, it was a bit of cynicism, because there was a part of me that all I could think was, oh yeah, sure, let me see you try and pull this off. You've done such a good job with other characters so far. But yeah. Actually, as it went on, watching him come to terms with his past, not just with the things that he's done, but with the way that he perceives the world, it was really interesting. I dug on that. That was actually really interesting for me, and I think a lot of the audience, I think most people I've talked to or seen talk about this arc all basically universally agree that they really, really like what happens with Vegeta. And that makes me happy, because like there's nothing more that I love than for one of my favorite characters from the original manga for a little while. He kind of fell off a little bit in Boo. And then kind of like got fucking manhandled in Super, to have this really good comeback.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of Boo, the way that they actually use Boo, amazing, fantastic, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, like, you know what? It makes me angry about all the times that they were too afraid to use Boo for one reason or another. And then in this arc, not only are we going to use Boo, finally, but we're also going to make him a huge part of the plot. Like, not just in terms of he's an active part of it, but he has a stake in it.
No,
and I'm
100%.
like, oh, goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, like, even, like, if we ignore it from, like, a story standpoint, like, I mean, one of the things that I found very tiresome about modern Dragon Ball, whatever people would interpret that to be, but what I find somewhat tiresome about modern Dragon Ball is how samey a lot of the fights come or feel like, and I think that, and then a lot of the intrigue then comes from the antagonist, and if the antagonist isn't interesting, you get Jiren. So, like, it's one of these things where, like, a lot of the fights feel very samey because Saiyans tend to have a very similar fighting style, and, like, you know, obviously human dynamics and all that kind of stuff offer very different, offer, you know, a certain pool of things that they can do, and that's why I kind of, like, whenever I got to see Piccolo fight during Super, it was a little bit interesting because, you know, he can bring different things to the table. And I think you can see that here with the Moro arc specifically, because you have stuff like Boo who can do things that no other character can, and then you have a character like Moro that uses magic, and you know, like a lot of his offense, particularly early on, I want to focus on the early on because later he sort of becomes a bit more derivative, but like early on there's a lot more focus on magic and the scope of that magic then, particularly in the panels. And like you were talking earlier about how like he gets better. I was talking earlier about how like Toyotaro sort of kind of finds his voice and kind of gets a bit more adventurous with paneling, and it kind of happens, or at least starts to happen, in this arc. And you can see like he's really having fun with the character of Moro and what he can do, you know, like with these massive shows of like power from Moro and magic, where like massive amounts of energy are kind of shooting up from the ground, and that creates this massive sense of scope. And I don't know, I like from a visual standpoint, I think it's particularly in the first half, quite interesting, at least compared to what's come before.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that first half, right up to the moment when Moro gets his wish to release the prisoners. Absolutely.
Oh my god, those wishes.
Yeah, up until that point, and then suddenly, oh hey, Cranberry. Oh, cool. Yeah, you get that moment, but everything else up until that is like dark. Like the moments when like the Namekian strongest warriors come in and Moro is like, oh, please. Because in my headcanon, Moro has a Scottish accent because, you know, he's an old goat. You gotta have a somewhat mystical accent and stuff like that. But yeah, Moro, when he's old, is incredible.
That would actually be pretty
right?
sick.
Absolutely. But in that, he is like really scary. And even when he gets some life essence and stuff, yeah, he's still, when he's like he's a young Ram Man. Yeah, that's really, really cool. But as we get into later, he then eventually just becomes another version of Perfect Cell. Oh.
I hate that. I want to get that out of the way now.
Let's just do that
so
now.
I can just fucking say it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, peak goat form was when he was just before he got the human face. Like, that was sick and great. I'm like, yes, awesome, cool, leave him. And then they're like, nah, we're gonna give him a human face. And it's like, great, cool. Just make your really memorable character look less memorable. Everyone loves that.
Yeah, and do it via Vor. Okay. That was like, that threw me off extremely. I was like, what? You're really doing that? Okay.
Do it via what?
Vor, basically. As in like, because remember like with 7-3, like, he just, like, picks up the droid and eats him. Like, not absorb. We're not talking, like, absorb by the tail. Straight up eats him. And you just feel like... Yeah. Okay, you're really gonna do that. And...
Yeah, it's a shame, too, because I think, like, his fighting kind of gets, like... When he kind of loses his identity and becomes, like, basically Cell and Hit again, he just... He sort of fights like them then as well, like the kind of like the magic sort of takes a kind of a backseat until the very end where things go a bit off the walls.
Yeah, we will later, yeah, absolutely. Because that's in of itself, and it does make me think like, oh yeah, I forgot Toyotaro is a very big Marvel fan, right? Yes, I'm pretty sure that no one knew that up until now. Wink, wink.
Oh yeah,
we're talking about how he kind of traced to that one Captain
That's
America.
That's why I said wink, wink. Yeah, you ruined the subtlety, Scott.
Have you seen DBZ Abridged? We don't do subtlety.
Touché.
But yeah. By the way, so I got a question because I remember when I was reading through this and a lot of people had opinions. So like the whole thing with the wishing all the prisoners out. I feel like that was a neat move, but I feel like, and I've heard some other people say that the whole build up to that wish kind of was like, wait, that was your wish? You made that seem like it was way more important than it actually ended up being in terms of like.
So I think, okay, so here's my definitive take, and anyone else's take is wrong. This is good. This is my take about this whole thing, right? I think what they decided to do is fine. Ultimately, because when you read it in sequence, it's not that big a deal, and the reveal is almost immediately after. But because you leave it on a cliffhanger, it says, you didn't know my last wish, and you're left thinking, oh, what could that wish possibly be? And you have to sit on it for like a month and a half, 2 months, or whatever it was. Like, that's an agonizing amount of time to leave a fandom speculate over a particular wish's fate. And when it turns out to be something as remedial as, oh, he just released his grunts. It just,
it does feel like, yeah.
Like, again, I think it's a cool idea, but it didn't need to be framed that way, especially when it's like a monthly release.
Again,
you know?
It feels like if you're reading the Morrow thing and binging it, it's not so bad. Like, it's not as big of a letdown.
Yeah.
I will say, as somebody who was not all that satisfied with the Resurrection F, like, invasion from Frieza, the invasion in this arc is way better. I feel like
so
a
good.
lot of characters
like
get to do a lot more. Piccolo gets to do so fucking much with Gohan. Oh, it's so
and
good.
Chaozu.
It's really nice.
Chaozu does stuff.
Yeah, it's nice to see like groups of people fight as well. Like, I mean, I think we were talking about this, Scott, earlier, and just like about how, like, you know, there aren't that many instances in Dragon Ball where not like numerous characters fight alongside each other, like in like with synergy. And you know, like, this was a nice little moment, especially with the Gohan and Piccolo stuff. Like, you know, like, we take those in Dragon Ball because we don't get them that often.
Oh, also, like, we touched a little bit on this. I really liked the training stuff with Vegeta.
Yes.
I really liked the exploration of the Yardrats. The fact that there are two different types of Yardratians was actually really interesting to me. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm actually all about this species as like, I know we got different ones.
Yeah.
Like, some look like that, some look like this. The idea of, our entire thing is like key control on a level that like allows us to recreate ourselves as like these separate images. Like, it's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of a race that is just like, no, we've mastered our key to a point where like we're kind of like mini gods in our own way. And like, that's fucking cool.
And one thing I would have loved, though, from that, I would have loved if Vegeta would have shown up on the battlefield wearing the Yardratian armor. I don't like that he got changed. I wanted him to stay in the armor.
But that would have been so dorky.
I know, but that's why I like it. I would have loved that. It would have been so cool.
Oh, yeah, but one thing we gotta remember is that this is aimed towards kids, and kids are gonna want to see him back in his outfit.
Yeah, of course. Because otherwise, okay, when's Vegeta coming back? Oh, okay, there's his key, that's Vegeta.
Yeah, I mean, hell, there's even the part of me, like, I even had to admit it in the DBcember when I was like, man, Imperfect Cell was so much cooler. But I can definitely see why they didn't want the Bug Man to be the final. Like, I can see why they made the decision of, no, make him more handsome and, like, traditionally intimidating. Because, kids probably don't want to see the giant Bug Man, like, in the final battle. I get it.
Yeah. Gotta stay comfortable. Can't go outside that comfort zone.
I hear that.
Scary world out there.
Don't challenge the chillin'. Ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, like, in terms of Vegeta's training, I can always, again, it's one of the few moments from the manga where I can remember specifically, like, a panel that, like, you know, sticks out in my head where, you know, Vegeta's like I think meditating on one foot on sitting on a pole, and like, it's a cool visual and I really like it. But like, again, I do like that it's sort of like a reflection of what Goku did for Vegeta when Vegeta does eventually arrive on the battlefield. He's like, hi, I'm here to save you, like the way you were here to save me on Namek. It's like, I thought there's a lot of like nice, interesting callbacks for, like, you know, the choices Vegeta did and made on Namek led him to a certain point. And now that like this sort of acts as like he's grown, he's developed, and now the choices that he's made while on Namek and in this arc have led him to be in a much better position. And I like that sort of like I suppose juxtaposition in my head.
Absolutely. But the one thing I didn't like about is that he learned instant transmission and is like, I'm never going to use it again, ever.
Yeah.
Harumph. That kind of stuff. Just use it. It's like, Vegeta, just use it. Oh, come on, buddy.
Well,
no, it's because it's marketing. That's Goku's move. He can't use that, and he can't use the Kamehameha. He can't use the Kaioken. He can't use any like useful move because that's Goku's move. He has, like, no one else can go Super Saiyan 3 because that's Goku's move.
Come on, best buddy.
You know,
well, I mean, Gotenks good.
Gotenks good, yeah, but he looks different enough. if that makes sense. I feel like people would get confused if Vegeta did, maybe.
I was actually small shortcut. Short aside. That's the fucking term I'm going for. I would have loved if it had been Super Saiyan 3 that Vegeta went against Beerus. That would have actually been a great moment for us to finally get Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta.
Yeah.
But no.
Oh well.
Also, I gotta say, one part that I still remember, and look, it's a huge coincidence. Like, in terms of storytelling, this is like, maybe, like, lazy, but the fact that they capture some of Moro's minions on the lookout, and then they're like, okay, we got about 10 days before the rest of them get here. So we've got some time to train, we got some time to get ready, and as that's going on, the worst of them are like basically killing a bunch of dudes who can make portals. And so out of nowhere, they just like, oh hey, we got this portal ability and we're here now. And then they're like, oh fuck, oh shit. Like, it just immediately goes, like, they're like, oh, we've got some time. No. You have fucking,
this
you
ain't
have
no
time.
Android Saga.
There is
fools.
no time.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
I will say is it 7-3?
Yeah, 7-3.
Yeah, 7-3.
Yeah. Cool character. Like, I actually kind of like him, even if he's just basically like, hey, what if you wanted Cell without a personality, but he could like steal abilities for a short amount of time? I do like him, even if his design's a little meh.
Yeah.
And I like how he's utilized up until he gets absorbed. After that, it's like, okay,
not
whatever.
absorbed, eaten.
Although,
there's a difference.
that being said, if he had just been absorbed into Moro without changing his design, I would have probably been happier. Because at least then it's like, oh, okay, he just gave Moro a power up, like fucking a magic mushroom.
Yeah, and like, I mean, like that in and of itself would have made sense too.
Yeah. But I like 7-3. I like the fights that he gives the characters, like specifically Piccolo and Gohan. Like, I just genuinely like the Moro arc. It's got problems like any
really
of the
fun.
other arcs do, but it also just introduces so many cool ideas, great fights, some of the best art, I'd say, from Toyotaro.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
big
that's
agree. There's some really nice, like, there's some really, like, I mean, like, one of the things that everything kind of seems to be on the back of like criticism, and I don't mean it to be that way, but like earlier in this story, I felt like a lot of the weaker moments for me in terms of the manga often came visually through like action segments that felt like they were just going on and on and on and not really adding anything. Whereas in the original manga, it felt like every sort of like fight sort of like was a highlight. And it just didn't, I never got that same feeling with Super until the Moro arc, where like there's a lot of really great fights with particularly between Goku and Moro when he's like the imperfect Ultra Instinct stuff. Like there's like really just great gestural work, foreshortening, panel layouts. Like again, comparing it to like some of his earlier work, where like a lot of the panels and layouts feel a bit more cluttered than they should be. A lot of the stuff is given a lot more room to breathe. And I don't know. It's all the better for it, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, the one thing I will say is that the idea of Mirrors was really, really cool. And I like the fact that there was some actual consequence in it. It's a shame that it didn't go anywhere by the actual end. However, the moment when it became clear that, I'm not really supposed to be actually acting on the offense as an angel, or at least an angel in training or something like that. I mean, that was pretty much the worst kept secret in Dragon Ball Mirrors. Oh, is he an angel? Not an angel. Totally an angel, or an angelic in terms of traits. And then I loved the fact that at that time, the cosmos just turned around and said, "Oi, what you think you're doing, mate? No, get out of here. Erase your sorry hide." But then the consequence, you think, oh no, Moro's now absorbed the power of an angel. What? He's now basically got Ultra Instinct. What's gonna happen? Oh boy.
Yeah, like I mean, I felt like there was a lot of really interesting potential questions to be asked and contended with regarding like Maris's like actual conflict in his head, because like it's a very, human worry and concern that he's kind of feeling, and like I thought it'll probably get explored later, or at least I hope it is. But that particular dynamic, I think, is something that I've often thought about regarding Super, and particularly with Whis' like, election to get involved in certain things and, remaining distant in other instances. And obviously, I think part of that is from like, they don't want to get the most powerful characters in the story involved, because otherwise it'll be ended with a snap of a finger. But I think there's like an interesting kind of like moral and philosophical question to be asked and contended with here. I mean, I'm not sure if anyone here or anyone listening has heard or seen what was that new movie, Eternals? I mean, there's a character in there that like, and spoilers if you have, but like there's a similar kind of like point of contention with a particular character of like, should you or should you not get involved if you have the power to do so? And I think that's an interesting question. It's just a shame that it didn't really go that far in Super, but I don't know, maybe Super isn't the correct vehicle to explore that either.
To me, it feels like Miris is actually the antithesis of Zamasu, like an angelic celestial being who loves mortals, like wants to be immortal.
By the way, I do think it is Maris.
Oh, well, Miris, it's just, it depends. Well, either way, that character that is spelled Merus, I feel like he is the opposite of Zamasu in that sense. In just like...
Actually, yes, he is like this god who's like,
I love mortals, I want to be immortal.
They're kind of cool, and I want to protect them.
And it's not like you just get him to sing, I want to be where the people are. It's like, you can easily just get part of that world, get him to sing that, and then you're good to go.
Maris is actually one of my favorite characters in the entire arc. Like, just flat out.
Yeah, he's really cool.
I love his story. I love where it goes. At first, I was a little bit, like, worried he wasn't going to have a lot to do. But then as the time went on, I'm like, oh, shit, you're actually fascinating. And I actually, there is a consequence for his actions. Being made mortal for an angel has got to be like, oh, my whole life just got changed.
Yeah, well, he was lucky to come out of it alive.
You're basically sentenced to a delayed death. Like, that's creepy as hell.
But at the same time, at least he got to live. Before then, it was just like he just basically got erased. At least he has some life to live. And it's a life that he wants. And also, it's not predetermined about how long his lifespan is. Like, Whis and the Grand Priest could easily just go, oh, yes, you're immortal, but you live for thousands of years. Yes, just, technicalities and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love those. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I mean, in terms of the ending, then regarding this arc and stuff, like there's some really cool visuals. Again, one of another kind of like panel that that really sticks out in my head is one of the few. I think it's the only time in all of Dragon Ball, including Toriyama's run, where we get to see like a really detailed Goku nostril. Where like we get a really big close up of his face, and we get to see this really like almost too detailed, there's too much detail. It's a bit unsettling.
Oh yeah. I mean, and how they referred to him as Planet Eater Moro, he then literally becomes the planet. Yeah.
Oh, did I hear something?
That was just my doorbell. One sec. You carry on.
Okay. Planet Eater. Oh my god. Fucking Moro planet face. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. To be honest, like I look, I think to your point as well, right? I think looking back on the entire Moro arc, it's actually like it's one of the very few times, I think the only time in Super's manga run where I enjoyed it month to month, and I enjoyed it even more just in a binging process. But I think that's pretty much a trend for par for the course. Really, with the Super manga, is that like you can just read through the entire thing, and it's a much more pleasurable experience. But I actually really did enjoy going back over the Moro arc. I like for a video that I was writing, and like I was really surprised with like how many things in it worked and how few things didn't work. I mean, I think we've touched on like like Moro sort of becoming a much less visually interesting character a little over halfway through, but I think towards the end then he kind of like gets his own identity again by literally becoming the
exactly.
Earth. And trying to eat
that
Goku.
moment was just so surreal. And the fact that he was just going crazy. And he eventually, and Haverock and I, we talk about this a lot of the time, is that he eventually just becomes like almost a Lovecraftian monster. Like, you can see his, this once eloquent and very knowledgeable mage and warlock suddenly just starts to go like, just goes completely, literally, as we said in the Broly movie, R1, he has literally descended into saying a single word. Literally. You just see his mind dissolving because he cannot handle angelic power.
Yeah, and there's I think there's something that Toyotaro does really well as well, is like he kind of like gives a small bit of breathing room to like an actual small emotional moment. So like I think there's a tiny instance where it might be right after Goku gets the Mastered Ultra Instinct kind of state, and he asks he asks Jocko, why did he become a galactic patrolman? And just listening to his response and Goku kind of like listening to it, like it's something that didn't need to be there, but like it really adds color and atmosphere to the occasion and like kind of reminds us like, okay, this is what they're fighting for, and Jocko's pretty cool, and like different things like that. Like, I do like when they get the chance to explore like and have different character moments, because I think it might have been one of you guys that pointed this out to me, but like Goku never really talks to Chaozu in the entire series. So why would he care when he dies in the Saiyan arc, And so I like when Toyotaro takes the time for like Goku to have a small conversation like this with Jocko that is meaningful and really impactful in the moment, particularly towards the climax.
Yeah, it's actually really nice. I will say this. The Sensu thing. God. I did not like that.
Just doing the cell thing again. Yeah.
Nobody did. And the fact that Krillin did not chew him out for it afterwards, this could have been you know what could have redeemed this? Is that Krillin actually chewing Goku out at the end of this. Like, no, Goku, what the hell? Because, but then everyone knows, so like, yay, Goku saved us, woo! There was no consequence for the fact that he did it. Yeah,
Yeah.
He keeps doing, and at least with Cell, there's some kind of explanation. Here, there just genuinely isn't.
Yeah, at no point in the entire story has Moro kind of given any kind of indication that he has any redeemable qualities whatsoever. And he, this is also a Goku that has already faced against Frieza and come to the conclusion that sometimes in certain instances there are people that you just can't reach. And it's just... I don't understand the logic behind this one particularly. I don't know. It just seems like there are so many things in this arc that seem like they're built on or at least taken inspiration from certain parts of the series, and this just really screams, oh, this is a thing that Goku does, so we're just gonna put it here.
Yeah. I don't know. It unfortunately that did hurt it hurt the last part for me. Did not ruin it, but it did make me be like, why do they keep trying to write Goku like this?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I understand he loves to fight and he loves to give people second chances, but there is a fucking limit.
There really needs to be.
No,
yeah,
100%.
It's just that was just like, if you're at least gonna do the Sensu Bean thing, at least let there be a consequence of his actions. And even Merus, the fact that he came back, if he'd have just stayed dead, stayed erased, Goku would have had that on his conscience that this guy protected me, saved my life, and now he's gone because of me. No, Merus is back. Yeah, I'm glad that he's okay, but there were no consequences.
That's a good point. I think that's a good point. And it actually, I think Dragon Ball's story's lack of consequence and death, really just has given Goku no incentive to actually watch what he does and just indulge in his selfish desire, because really there's no consequence for it. So, man, it would have been weird if he did.
The Shadow Dragons suddenly have a lot more thematic weight.
Yeah, there you go.
And you can definitely tell there is going to be eventually a time where Toyotaro wants to throw in a Shadow Dragon, because he loves them.
Yeah, why would he? why would he want to do that? It's not like he's ever worked with the Shadow
No,
Dragon
but
before.
he's definitely determined to add it somewhere eventually.
Yeah, but like, I think something that I think needs to be drawn attention to and praised for in this arc is something that this arc has done that no other arc did, and that no other arc did in Super, I should say, and that's actually add connective tissue at the end of the arc that links into the next one.
That was brilliant.
Right? Oh my god!
What a revolutionary concept!
And it worked so well.
But they did it.
It worked so well. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes it feel like a big story.
Exactly.
Like fucking oh yeah, no, that was, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Actually, I was like, did they actually manage to like tie in directly from one plot to another? Damn.
I know. I mean, like, I did not like. I like when I was reading it, I was like, oh my god, the story isn't being bookended. It doesn't have an ending. It's going again. Because like every arc really felt like it was like a starting and stopping point, contained stories into and of themselves, and that's fine, but it just doesn't create this kind of ongoing sense of tension or drama. Or I think one of my favorite things about Dragon Ball is like how big and vibrant and fun the world feels, and how like this is one massive grand adventure. And I just never got that feeling or sensation while reading through Super or watching Super for that matter. But this Toyotaro in this arc actually connected tissue together. And now we're going into the granola stuff, and it's just it's all the better for it.
Before we get to the granola stuff, two things I wanted to touch on real quick. First being what was it? I just had it on the. Okay, well, let's go into Spirit Goku.
Oh yes,
because I feel like when I first saw that, unfortunately, I had the bad initial reaction of being a Korra fan. So when I saw that, I had PTSD from the end of season 2. So when I saw that, I'm like, no, not Spirit Kaiju, not again. I can't do this.
Okay. I didn't really know what to think about it because so I've only ever seen Avatar: The Last Airbender. I saw the first season of Korra, and I haven't seen any more of it. But
small spoilers: season 2 ends in a Spirit Kaiju fight, not entirely unlike what we see here, where like a giant version, like via ki, or in Korra's case, just spirit. Her spirit grows. It's whatever. It's when I saw it happen here, I was a little bit weirded out, but then I was like, you know what? No, this is cool as fuck. Like, he's taking all that energy and making a giant version of himself, like, with his power, something that, the Yardratians talked about. Like, this just seems like an extension of the Yardratian training he'd probably already undergone. This works. I actually dug it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought it works, and again, it provided like a really interesting. I think I like this ending for the same reason that I liked what the Zama stuff did in the Future Trunks, and that, like, for me, when I was reading it, it felt like something new and different, and like this again feels
100% new and different.
Yeah, no, this is like getting a supersized Goku fighting this weird, grotesque, contorted version of whatever the fuck Moro's become. It's just a really cool idea, and like I'm glad that they didn't go with the safe option. I mean, they gave Moro a safe design, and then they just really went bonkers for the finish, and I can appreciate
absolutely.
that.
Also, they managed to make the worst new ability for a character has gotten into something wholeheartedly worthwhile. I'm sorry, Spirit Fission seems like a very, very specific ability that he's rarely ever going to actually get to use in any meaningful manner. But the way they use it here is perfect. So I'm like, well, fuck. Like, I love that. The reverse Spirit Bomb, fuck yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, I'm never gonna, like, so I used to be the kind of person that was like, it's a stupid idea, they shouldn't do that, they should do this. But then the anime showed me Goku grinding like a skateboard on top of a beam, and I was like, okay, I never thought of that. Why haven't I thought of that? I'm an idiot. Okay, you get to choose and make decisions. So like Force Spirit Fission doesn't seem like the sexiest idea, but maybe in the future it could manifest itself in really interesting ways that I can't see or foresee. So who's to say? It's not flashy, but it could subvert a particular expectation in a good way in the future. Maybe, I don't know.
I also really dug their use of like Oob and the Kaioshin there too. Like the Kaioshin's like, all right, now just do this, and
yeah, that's sick. Yeah. I thought that was really
why
cool.
am I doing this,
like,
mister?
as much as
you'll find out soon enough. Bye.
As much as I don't like them involving Oob right now, which Masako, you actually like the fact that the manga actively is involving Oob.
Yes, in this case, because it then, with the end of Z, makes Goku's impulse to fight this kid much more logical, in the sense that, okay, now this is why Goku decided to up sticks and leave his entire family behind on a whim. Now it actually makes a little bit of sense. Like, he wants to go and find this power that he sensed, like, that gave him energy, that contributed energy ages ago.
If I may, it's already implied. I mean, it's not even outright said by Goku. It's like, no, this is Boo's reincarnation.
I feel like this is much more of like he contributed when he was younger. Feels a bit more direct. I just feel like it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily need it to make sense, I think. That's why I was like, okay, I mean, you can seed him a little bit earlier on. I mean, I'm not even a big... I genuinely am not a fan of the end of the Dragon Ball manga.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I was just going to say that, like, I mean, I don't like Oob because he represents the killing of my childhood favorite show.
Damn. Damn. Like, look, and I understand why they did that ending. Like, I get it. And the people who like that ending, I get why you like it. I don't like it. I get why you like it, and that's cool. I just genuinely found it to be too abrupt and too kind of like playing into, honestly, what is I don't know. I don't want to go too far into it because that's not the part, like, that's not the point of this discussion, but I do genuinely like the ending of this arc. In fact, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, this is probably the second best ending for a super only arc. I really like the ending of Battle of Gods, and the ending of the Tournament of Power is fucking nice.
Yeah.
Yep, fair enough. Yep.
Big agree.
But yeah, no, it's a good ending. I like the way that they defeat Moro. It's a little bit cliche to end on the thumbs up pose, but whatever, fine.
You know what? Let him have it. Just let him have it. You know, you earned it. It's a lot of drawings. You did the drawing good. There you go. Yeah.
By the way, are we going to talk about the fact that Goku knows that is not a hand? He keeps grabbing the king by the fucking tentacle, by his penis, and it's funny. It's so funny. In fact, the fact that he points that out, like, you got to be doing this on purpose, about now, right?
I think my favorite part about that joke specifically is that the frequency with which it's repeated tells me that Toriyama, when he wrote it, said, "Oh my god, this is the best joke I've ever done, and I'm gonna keep telling it because it's hilarious." And I just have that image in my head. I think that alone is very funny. Just seeing this 60-year-old man just drawing this guy holding what is effectively his penis. It's just so
fun. In the background, he's going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we all find it funny. We'll all find it funny to the day we die, like when we're old and like in YouTuber retirement homes. Just like we'll stand by it.
So, like, do we want to talk about the granola art because it isn't finished yet?
We'll briefly touch upon it.
Let's.
I think.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about it. I think that's fine.
At least a little bit of it, but I'd say at the very least, Haverock and I, we've delved deep into this. We're probably some of its biggest stands about it. This arc's trying to do something which is really different, I believe, and it does actually carry on what the Moro Saga does with Vegeta, even more so. And there are specific things that happen to Vegeta which are incredible. And I love the nomenclature, I love what he does with it, and the fact that how he is able to accept that he is not the same person he used to be.
Yeah, I again, this part of the Super, like, this part of Super seems really dedicated to properly developing Vegeta, not only away from, oh, I have to be better than Goku, but, or, well, Kakarot, sorry. He would never say Goku. It's like, it's less, I need to be better than Kakarot, and more, oh God, what have I done with my life?
Absolutely. And you know what? In this saga, Goku acts like he has a brain, and actually has a considerable amount of tact.
Well, hey, part of that comes down to the fact that fucking Toyotaro's been writing, like, as much as I didn't like the stuff that he did with Maris, or not Maris, with Moro. At the very least, he is being written more like the character he was in the Buu saga, rather than the character that he was in the fucking Super anime.
It feels like, and also Goku knows his place. Like, we go into like we're going towards like really exactly what's on the bleeding edge right now, but Goku knows when and when not to fight, when to back off. You know, he actually listens to people, what they want to do. Like, when Vegeta goes, Kakarot, stay out of my way! And Goku's like, well, okay, best buddy, but just be careful. But yeah, Goku actually is written well. And that surprises me. After years of him being like, duh, I wanna fight strong guys. Duh, universe be damned. Darn, sorry, Chi-Chi. Basically.
Like, I think I agree with you guys regarding Goku Vegeta. It's just, so Granola is an interesting character, and I like his design and all the rest of it. But like, the one thing that I just didn't understand though is like, it's a kind of a tropey thing that I don't like in a lot of shows that kind of like sort of exist solely because you need to have attention. You need to have attention in your scene, and like, Granola, it's revealed that like he kind of grows up and is raised by this old Namekian called Minato, and like, this old Namekian, despite not being present for these flashbacks, is able to tell him all about his history and his past and all that kind of stuff. And if he knew all that stuff, why not tell him? Especially when you're scared of what he might do. It's like there.
I feel like I feel like one way you could do it, and this is what Hav and I agree on, is that over time, over 40 years, the longer you keep something a secret, the harder it is to actually tell someone. So if he was going to tell Granola, he should have done it much sooner. But after 40 years, he is a very weak and feeble old man. He daren't. He can't bring himself to do it. I mean, he should have done it sooner. But yeah, I think that's our trying to justify why he didn't tell him. That's our thinking.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out though how he knew all that information, because there's some like, I mean, like, I think there was one particular, I think the last chapter that I read was there was like a flashback within a flashback, and it didn't make sense how he knew that information based on.
Yeah, I feel that flashback's meant for us. I think that one's meant for the audience, but from Bardock's point of view. So I don't think Monito would know about that bit about that specifically. That is probably like but yeah, like, just kind of restrictive storytelling.
But like, just kind of like branching off of like, you know, just kind of like echoing what you guys are saying, and that like, I do like that Vegeta's kind of like, instead of chasing Kakarot, he's now just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna
I'll go and do my own thing.
You know, he's finally got to the point where Goku was at the start of the story. You know, like, where he's like, okay, I'm not going to chase Goku. I'm just going to kind of focus on myself and kind of like improve what I can improve. And I like that they both have two very distinct paths, with like Vegeta going with the destruction path and Goku going with the angel path, or whatever you want to call that.
Agreed.
But I think that's kind of, I think it's a cool idea.
And I feel like I'm just going to flat out, you know, well, just the ultra power, whatever Vegeta gets, totally so him. It's so him. It's perfect. The name nomenclature, I love it. I love it. I don't care what people say.
I don't like the eyebrow thing. I'm sorry. I don't like it.
That threw me off at first, I will admit. But you know what? I'll roll with it. I'll roll with it now. Especially when you get...
I don't think I ever really liked the eyebrow thing for like Super Saiyan 3 anyway. But yeah, I like...
See, I was okay with it for Super Saiyan 3, because it was like, I don't know, like it's balanced out for me with the hair. It's like, okay, this is just crazy and wild, whatever. With Ego though, it's like, what the he looks ugly. That's all I could think when I see it. It's just, you look ugly.
You look ugly, and I don't like it.
And he ain't got no alibi.
Also, like, his cheeks even get sunken in. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And when he
and
gets like dopey grin, whenever he gets like really into it, it's like really obvious.
But that being said, the actual like, I love the idea. It's like, no, I'm just full on attack, okay? Like, where Ultra Instinct is moving around everything, Ultra Ego is just fucking push through, fucking ruin.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a really cool idea, and I'm really happy with the way it's going. I think one of my favorite things about this arc is kind of like something that hasn't happened yet. Now, it might have happened in the most recent chapter. I haven't read it yet, but the almost like a promise of like, there's a big focus right now on like Goku, Vegeta, and Granola and their whole dynamic, and them, mixing and mingling and getting to know each other. But I feel like this is going to go in a direction that will directly involve Frieza, and there'll be a third party involving the Heaters, and like, I don't know what that'll even look like. So there are lots of like question marks in the air and wondering how this will manifest and what will happen. And the lesson that Granola will ultimately learn, I hope, is that like, it's not worth sacrificing your entire life for revenge and all that kind of stuff.
It's Vegeta. I think it's Vegeta taking him under his wing and saying, "Don't make the same mistake I did, being hell bent on revenge." It's basically Vegeta telling Granola, "Just stop, okay? It's not worth it." That kind of stuff. Coming to terms with his own past.
Maybe.
Well, I'm very curious to see where it goes. Granola as a character, I really dig him. I dig his design. I dig his background. A little bit. He actually reminds me a little bit of like a Tuffle. I was actually stunned that it wasn't a Tuffle. Like, they could have gone that route and they would have been fine. But they went with the Ceruleans, which is cool. That's cool. Like, if you want to go with another species altogether. Like, also that allows them to play with the physiology of, like, give them the eye thing. I dig it. And again, damn, his design is fucking good.
Yeah, I really like the whole eye thing. The eye thing's really cool. Like the idea that he's sort of like a sharpshooter in and of itself just makes him look like kind of like a rogue. It's kind of cool. It kind of makes him look kind of like a space outlaw, which is kind of fun.
Also, one other thing that I want to point out, and this is a negative, but it's fine. I can get over it. It's just, damn, the coincidence of the Dragon Balls was like, what?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Just on TV randomly. I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
No, that was
right
insane.
at the moment that I needed it too.
Yeah, that I'll give you that. But I do like the whole monkey's paw type of thing with Torombo and the Cerulean Dragon Balls. And yeah, it's interesting. And it's like, hey, that's fair enough. So long as you don't have a dragon raid. Oh dear.
By the way, sorry, I'll be right back. It's my turn to take a step away. I'll be right back in just a moment.
No problem. I don't know. I enjoy the granola stuff so far. Do you know what it is? I think it just feels like the story is moving incredibly slowly. And it only feels that way because we're getting monthly chapter releases. But I feel like if I was to binge read the entire thing, the story would be fun, snappy, and interesting, but it just still wouldn't feel like that much had we'd only really gotten through maybe like the beginning of Act 2. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really feel like we're heading towards a big conclusion just yet. At least that's not the impression.
I agree. I mean, the Moro arc was about 21 chapters, and we're already into like on Monday it'll be the 12th chapter. So technically we should be over halfway. Yeah. And you feel like, really? Are we really halfway over? It feels a lot slower.
Yeah, but like the thing is, right, I think this sort of speaks as well to like Toyotaro's like desire to want to do these a bit better and to like, to dive into more detail with these particular arcs themselves because they're new. So like, I think like the first 25 chapters or whatever of the story will bring you into like well into like the future Trunks black stuff, and that's like three arcs right there. And so if one arc now in Moro was like 21 chapters, which was in the past the size of three arcs almost, like it really kind of speaks to the kind of detail and kind of like drive that Toyotaro has to expand on this world, to tell it right, and to leave his mark, so to speak, with the story. And I think it works so far. I mean, I really like Moro and like this granola arc stuff so far, particularly with all the new designs and all the new trappings of like what it means for Vegeta and Goku and their respective paths. You know, it's an interesting concept, and I think it's being done pretty well. And it's like, I think the manga should come before the anime, and I think we saw what happens when it doesn't over the last number of years with Super. So when Super does eventually come back, and I hope it does come back and covers this material, I'm very excited to see that material now, knowing what I know about the story, and I get to be that fan that goes like, oh, you don't know what's coming next, but I know what's coming next. And in my head I'm thinking, oh, it's gonna be a giant spirit kaiju battle. It's gonna be awesome.
Exactly. See, and then you go like, oh, okay, how are they going to do it differently in the anime? Like, how are they going to change it, or what kind of tweaks are they going to be to help pad it out a bit? Like, there are things that, Toyotaro can go back and adapt or modify that didn't quite work in the manga. But at least you have a concrete template which can work in both mediums. Unlike the manga and anime running at the same time, where it's just like, well, you just take your pick. Doesn't really matter. They both end up at the same place.
Yeah, take your pick.
It really does.
It's really weird because like there are certain instances in Super's manga run where you can see the manga was like almost emulating or building upon stuff that was done in the anime, and that was just a really weird thing to see. Like seeing. Like particularly in like when the manga first started its serialization with the Battle of God stuff, like where we see panels that are like they look like they're ripped from the show specifically, or not the show, the movie. But I mean, like a lot of that can just be like down to like Toyotaro feeling nervous and not wanting to overstep his boundaries and being respectful.
Most
and all
likely,
the rest of it,
probably just not wanting to tread on many people's toes and just ultimately, just not lose his job or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine to someone like him now, like that would be a massive dream come true, you know?
Yeah, you just need to have the confidence that once Toriyama does genuinely fully retire, like for realsies, that, they don't push him out.
Realsy.
So...
Yeah. I personally, I would kill to see, like, what Toriyama's guidelines and bullet points and signposts, like what his instructions for each individual arc. So like when the Super anime was running, I would just love to see, all right, so Toriyama, what do we have? Like, what's the next arc going to be? He's like, oh, it's going to be the universe survival arc. And like, he hands him like an A4 page of like instructions. And like, is that it? It's like, yeah. There's going to be this character called Jiren. And he's like, oh, really cool. Tell me about him.
His name is Jiren.
You'll figure it out.
Good luck with that. And
Apologies about that nature called, and my voicemail was full. So
we managed to fill up the air with some cool talking. So we're all good. I think that pretty much just wraps up everything that we like wanted to cover. All we can say is that the Dragon Ball Super manga has been a ride. It's a good ride. It started up a bit shaky, but it's in a good place right now.
I'm a little bit embarrassed that I couldn't remember a bunch of details. A lot of people are gonna be like, why did you even fucking talk about it if you couldn't even remember most of it? And I'm like, I could remember the big beats and I remember the things that I liked.
Plus people would also but I think even more people would complain if you didn't mention all this stuff anyway. So like I think it's kind of like,
just talk about what you feel passionate about, man. Yeah.
Well, I can definitely say that I really liked a lot of the decisions made during the Goku Black arc, like the Kaioshin stuff, and a lot of the better explanations for a bunch of the stuff that was just Goku's dumb in the anime. I really like a lot of... I liked a lot of the fights a little bit better in like Universe 6. God knows that I think that Toyotaro's art has just gotten better as time has gone on in a lot of great ways, and I love what they're doing with Vegeta. Like, legit character development for this man.
Yes.
Thank God.
Thank goodness.
100%. I think from a visual standpoint, I think the manga is in a much better place. You can really see where Toriyama's influence has kind of guided Toyotaro to make certain decisions, and like particularly with like, you know, anatomy and framing of different scenes in terms of layouts and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot more interesting. And like, again, to your point, like I think the last 2 arcs for me have been fantastic. And Masako and I were talking about this earlier, but like it really feels like Toyotaro's kind of passionate about these 2 stories and really wants to leave his own mark on it. Like I think the first 25 chapters of the story cover by and large 3 arcs of Super, but the Moro arc itself alone was 21 chapters. So like he's really going into a lot more detail. Now that does translate to a much longer serialization, but it ultimately ends up being a much better story. And like, again, with it tying into like, you know, with there being connective tissues between different arcs, making it feel like one giant story. I hope that this is like a sign of things to come, that this is going to be a trend that will manifest itself in the future.
Yeah. It's hopeful. It's on an upward trend, I would say.
But yeah, so everyone in the comments, what's your favorite Super arc in both the anime and manga? I want to know.
Yeah, we would very much like to know that too.
I would definitely say that in the anime, my favorite Super arc is probably the Universal Survival arc. Even with all the stuff that I don't like about it, it's got some really
does have
cool
its
shit.
moments, definitely.
Yeah, I probably gotta agree. Universe Survival arc in the anime is top tier. Well,
I will say if the Goku Black arc didn't end like...
If it ended at episode 66, when Trunks sliced Zamasu in half, very good. Very good.
Oh
Much
God,
better.
that would be
Just
amazing.
pretend 67 never happened.
Yeah, just cut to black. It's awful ending. But yeah, I think I would say then my favorite like arc from the manga would probably be the Moro arc. I really like that. In the manga.
Yes.
And I mean, like, and judging by the way things are trending right now, it could very well turn out to be the granola stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they can stick the landing, the granola one's going to be the best Super saga out of all of them, animated or drawn.
For me, it's really gonna come down to the heaters as villains. Like
100%.
Currently, I'm a fan of the abilities that we're seeing from our man here, Gas, but they're really, really, really gonna have to pull this all together, because I was not even a fan of him being like of the heaters becoming villains in the first place, like the villains. I'm really hoping that they can pull this all together.
Yeah, for me, like, I've always kind of felt like they were the manga seems to be communicating that they're this big imposing force, but I can't help but feel like they have like almost residual peel off gang energy. I don't know what it is about it, but it just feels like that to me a little bit. It particularly, it wouldn't surprise me if these guys were comic relief characters in like 2 or 3 arcs time. If that makes sense.
These characters' designs, attitudes, they reek of movie only or filler villains.
Yeah.
Like they reek of movie villains, like very specifically like old Z movie villains. Like, hey, we need a group of dudes that can like basically be this antagonistic force for the movie. Like that's what they feel like. So
yeah, you know what? It's like I feel the best thing that you could do is like have it is that in the latest thing, Elec uses the Dragon Balls to make Gas stronger, but we don't know the condition that he agreed to on Toronto. And you could have it that, hey, instead of just, reducing Gas's lifespan, to make him even stronger than Granola, he reduced Oil and Maki's lifespans too, since they have life energy. I'm just going to screw you all over for my own personal gain. And that's when Oil and Maki start to doubt, and it causes an entire rift within the entire unit. And I would like to have that betrayal.
That would be
just
neat.
for his own personal gain, because the heaters, they like power and information. And just by the way,
and let's see how close you'll be when all things are said and done. Maybe you'll be close, maybe you'll be way off, but I'm interested to see it one way or the other. Because, like, to be honest, like the arc itself is fun. And at the end of the day, that's all it needs to be.
I want to be surprised. I don't want to be right. I'd hate being right. I'm not the writer here. So
I mean, I kind of do hope you're right. I think that's cool.
It's okay being wrong too.
Yeah. So anything else we want to go over with the
I think
Super
we pretty
manga?
much covered everything, really. It's been quite a comprehensive journey, hasn't it?
I think we've said everything that I need to say.
Yeah, I feel like I've gotten everything out of my system. I'm pretty sure. I wish I'd had the time to give all of this stuff a reread through. I really wanted to, but as it turns out, December fucking blows, you guys. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, December sucks. You don't need to tell me that.
Yeah, you're the last person I have to tell right now. But hey, thank you so much, by the way, Mark, for coming on. We always love you showing up and being part of these.
It was a massive honor. I'm a huge fan of DBcember and all that kind of stuff, and I have been for like what feels like, and I've been reminded now a decade almost. So it's really cool to be able to hop on the last one.
Almost 8 goddamn years. Actually,
That's
no, this is the
crazy.
8th one, so 8 goddamn years.
God.
But hey, everyone at home, as I asked before, what's your favorite super arc from both the anime and the manga? I bet for some people it's gonna actually differ. So
Let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to ring that bell. Sign up to our Patreon. Send me money. Just send me checks in the mail.
And sign up to our email list.
We have a
Do people
web
still do
ring.
that? Do people still do email lists?
I think people still do the email list. Do you remember guest
Oh,
books?
yes, of course. And you gotta have and the
Oh my
GeoCities
God.
website.
I had a tripod website.
Ooh,
Oh, it was so
hipster
bad.
you.
I don't know what any of these things are.
God. All right, you baby. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure to take care of yourselves and have the happiest of holidays and a happy DBcember. We'll see you later.
Merry Christmas.